Every evening, just as the sky turned the color of watered milk tea, Samir would stand beside the car with the patience of a saint and the exhaustion of a man who had already repeated the same instructions 14 times. "Clutch first," he would say gently. "I am pressing the clutch," Aaliya would protest, gripping the steering wheel as though it were the neck of a dangerous animal. "The other pedal." "Oh." The car jerked forward like an offended goat and died immediately. From the balcony upstairs, 4-year-old Ikra clapped delightedly while her younger brother Daniel shouted, "Mama crashed again." "I did not crash," Aaliya muttered, sinking lower into the seat. "The car itself gave up." Samir bit back a laugh. "It's learning alongside you." That became the rhythm of their evenings for years. After dinner, when the pressure cooker had been washed and turned upside down to dry, when school uniforms were folded for the next day, when the children had fallen asleep with storybooks open on their chests, Samir would pick up the car keys from the ceramic bowl near the door. "Just one round," he'd say. And Aaliya, already tired from chasing crayons under sofas, sterilizing lunch boxes, forgetting tea on the stove, and reheating it 3 times, would stare at the keys like they were a court summons. Sometimes she tried. Sometimes she cried halfway through because the car rolled backward on slopes. Sometimes she forgot gears completely and drove in second while the engine complained miserably. Once, in a panic, she turned on the windshield wipers instead of the indicator and nearly burst into tears while Samir laughed so hard he had to remove his glasses to wipe them. But no matter how lovingly he explained, no matter how many YouTube tutorials he sent her, no matter how many empty grounds or quiet lanes they practiced in, the big car remained a monster to her. It was enormous, stubborn, gear-heavy, and intimidating. Eventually, life became busier. The children grew. The dining table became crowded with sharpened pencils, tiny socks, unfinished homework, and library books with bent corners. Mornings smelled of toasted bread and spilled milk. Afternoons disappeared in laundry, grocery lists, and searching for missing water bottles. And then one summer admission letters arrived. School. A real school. Not the tiny preschool down the lane where the children could walk holding her dupatta. This school was far. Too far to walk. Too far for autos every day. Too far for excuses. The night before orientation, Aaliya sat at the kitchen table long after everyone slept. The house hummed softly around her, the refrigerator, the ceiling fan, distant dogs barking outside. Beside her sat a cup of cold coffee she had forgotten to drink and a notebook filled with the children's schedules written in careful blue ink. Samir walked in quietly. "She's asleep," he whispered, glancing toward the children's room. Aaliya nodded. Then very softly she said, "I can't do it." Samir pulled out the chair opposite her. "You can." "No," she said immediately. "I truly can't. The roads are crowded. Your car is huge. What if I hit someone? What if the kids are inside? What if I forget the gears on a slope again?" Her voice trembled at the edges. Samir looked at her for a long moment. Not impatiently, not disappointed, just thoughtfully. Then he leaned back and said, almost to himself, "Maybe the problem isn't you." Aaliya blinked. "The car," he continued. "The car scares you before you even sit inside it." "It does," she admitted miserably. The next evening, Samir came home unusually cheerful. "Wear your sandals," he announced. "We're going somewhere." "Where?" "You'll see." They drove to his friend Farhan's apartment building. In the parking lot sat a tiny silver automatic hatchback that looked almost toy-like beside their large old sedan. Farhan tossed Samir the keys. "Try this one." Aaliya frowned. "Where's the gear?" "There is one," Samir said, opening the driver's door for her. "But no clutch." "No clutch. No clutch." She stared at him suspiciously. "That sounds fake." "It's modern technology," Farhan declared proudly. The first few minutes were shaky. Aaliya still sat stiffly, still checked mirrors every 3 seconds, still gasped dramatically whenever a scooter appeared nearby. But then something strange happened. The car moved smoothly. No jerking. No panic gear changes. No stalling. No rollback on slopes. The steering felt lighter. The car itself felt smaller somehow. Less like a beast to control and more like something willing to cooperate. By the third round around the block, she was driving. Actually driving. Samir watched her from the passenger seat in stunned silence. Aaliya herself looked shocked. "I'm doing it," she whispered. "You are." "I'm actually doing it." That night she drove all the way home. Slowly, carefully, but confidently. And when they parked, she rested both hands on the steering wheel and laughed. A soft, disbelieving laugh that sounded almost young. Samir laughed too. Not because she failed, but because after all these years they had finally stopped trying to force the wrong solution. A month later, the old large car was sold. In its place came a small pearl-white automatic car with warm beige seats, and a tiny dangling moon charm Aaliya hung near the mirror. Soon mornings changed. Now the children tumbled into the back seat with half-buttoned sweaters and toast in their hands while Aaliya reminded them not to spill jam on the seats. Coffee cups traveled in holders. Library books piled near the dashboard. Tiny socks disappeared mysteriously under seats. Samir would stand at the gate every morning with his office bag and wave as the little car rolled out. And every single time, Aaliya would lower the window just enough to grin proudly before driving away. Years later, whenever someone praised her driving, she would laugh and say, "Oh no, I wasn't born for difficult cars." But Samir knew the truth. She had never been incapable. She had only needed a different road.